Hello and welcome to the Love Talk, where we confront myths and misinformation when it comes to relationships.
Where couples and singles learn to love intelligently.
Is it worth it trying again after failed marriage or failed relationships? That's what we're going to be exploring in today's program.
But here's what's coming up on today's episode.
Coming up on today's program, we have more of your unsettled questions answered in this week's Dear Love Talk. Our special guest couple today are Victor and Gayleen Akutu, who have both experienced failed marriages before they met each other. Find out more of their story as to how they both overcame their individual situations and what happened next on today's show. Plus, of course, they'll be taking their seats to reveal the 3 most annoying things about their partner. But before all of that, let's go back to Luke and Rafa for this week's Dear Love Talk.
And it's Dear Love Talk time, where we answer your questions about relationships. And if you'd like to send us your questions, you can send it to questions@lovetalkshow.tv. Right? Good. Let's go into the first question now. Question number 1. My marriage is a bit rocky at the moment, to the point in which my wife doesn't want me in the house anymore. I'm trying to talk things through and make the necessary changes, but for reasons beyond my understanding, she wants me out of the house. What should I do? Confront and fight for it, or move out? Would that be a sign that I'm giving up on our marriage? Well, you're saying that the relationship is a bit rocky. We don't know how bad it is right now, how difficult it is. You seem, according to your words, to be willing to work things through, make the relationship work, but she insists that you leave the house. He doesn't explain details why, and we don't know how long this has been going on, but we know this happens a lot, to the point where one of the spouses, for some reason, erupts like a volcano, doesn't want to talk anymore, there's no more dialogue, and simply wants the other person out of the house.
One thing that calls my attention a lot in his email is that he says, for reasons beyond my understanding, my wife wants me out of the house. I think that's a problem right there. If you don't understand why, that's maybe why she wants him out. And depending on the problem, how bad the problem is, that's not necessarily a bad thing. To give it some space. I don't think it means that he's giving up on the marriage. I think if she is so adamant about him leaving, maybe he should, and give it a space so that they can, think apart and work things out apart. Yeah. So that
we know that you don't want to move out. We understand that you don't want to leave the house. You want to work things through and perhaps make the necessary amendments. That you're willing to fix whatever has been broken, repair what's being broken. However, we know that sometimes, as you said, a little bit of space helps. So leaving the house and moving elsewhere doesn't mean you're giving up on the relationship. Okay, you want me out of the house, I'll leave, but know that I'm not giving up. That's perhaps what you can tell your wife. I'm not giving up on us. I'm going to fight. Whatever I have to do to recover what we lost throughout the years, to get back on track the way you used to be before. And then you give a little bit of space. So, perhaps she can breathe. Who knows, she'll feel your absence, and she may come to terms with the fact that you guys need to work things out. Perhaps the relationship is a bit worn out right now, and a bit of space. Ideally, you should not leave. Mm-hmm. You should stay. But if she refuses to talk, if she wants you out, then okay. But let her know that you're not giving up on her, you're not giving up on the relationship, but that you're willing to fight and do whatever you have to do to keep the relationship.
Also, I think that it's obvious, since they came to this point where she doesn't want him in the house anymore, it's good for them to take this time to work on themselves, because there are things in each of them that is causing this marriage to be rocky. So maybe by being apart, by being by themselves, they can look into themselves and see what changes they have to make in themselves before they can make the changes in the marriage.
Sometimes you need to rebuild yourself first before rebuilding the relationship, which is very important to observe. So let's go into the second question now.
Some of my past relationships were heartbreaking because I felt I should be in those relationships due to the fear of being alone, knowing I wasn't interested in the guy. Certain things about them would put me off, but I continued due to that fear. I don't seem to be able to overcome it. Please advise.
Yeah, so, being in a relationship which you don't want to be, but you keep that relationship just because you're afraid of being alone, there is no much explanation for that. It's completely wrong. I am with you in this relationship, I don't like, there's certain things about you I don't like, I don't know, I don't think it can work, but then I think of myself being alone, without anyone. What if I lose this person? What if I let go of this person? Will I have another one in the future? She says there that it's not only one relationship. It seems like few relationships were like that. So how can a person be happy like that if that person is not even honest with himself? Right? I don't think she's being honest with herself.
And you see, Luke, how it doesn't work when people make decisions, even though it's decisions regarding relationships, regarding the heart. When they make decisions based on a feeling, it never works. So you see, according to her, she has had relationships out of fear. Maybe, I don't know, maybe she thought, I better go with this one because if I don't go with this one, I'm never gonna have anybody, or I won't have anybody else. It didn't save her from being heartbroken. So she did it out of fear so that she wouldn't be alone. And here she is.
Again,
alone.
Struggling alone and trying to, work things out and trying to understand or find out what she can do next to avoid future mistakes. So any decisions made on feelings, or emotions will lead you nowhere. Once again, we've said that before in previous programs, and here we are again talking about the same very thing. So being in a relationship just because you are afraid of, or in a relationship in which you are not happy about, but you keep the relationship just because you're afraid, I don't know, of being alone or of this and that, it's doomed to failure. It's doomed to failure. So the best medicine is honesty. You're not only not being honest with the other person, you're not being honest first with yourself, and that leads you nowhere.
And maybe she has to be honest with herself by seeing that she may have a problem. Why must she be in a relationship? Like she can't be by herself. Why is that? So I think there's a deeper problem behind her fear, behind of why, if she had failed relationships in the past, I think she has to work on herself now.
It's a problem that she has spotted, right? Okay, deal with that problem. Deal with that problem. Why am I like that? Why am I behaving this way? Rather than jumping from one relationship to another thinking that that's how we're going to solve the problem. Take some time, work on yourself, and then you will be able to move into a new relationship because you're going to be a new you anyway, right? So let's now go into the final question. I've been talking to this guy for a few weeks now, and he says he has feelings for me, but he never seems to make much effort in general. Should I continue and see where he goes?
No.
Well, so he's warming up. He's warming up on the sidelines somehow.
The guy comes, says, I have feelings for you. Okay, talk. Anyone can talk. People can say I love you.
And by the way, what is the level right now of the relationship? What in which stage you guys are?
She seems to be like just talking.
You've been talking for how long already? Perhaps he has already passed that time of talking. and you know, she's waiting for the next step, for the next level. So I always advocate confrontation here. Confront somehow in a good way. You know, say, okay, we've been talking for a while. You express your feelings towards me. You say you like me, you love me, whatever. I don't know. Some men even say, I want to, you know, have a future with you, build a family, you have children, and so on and so forth. They make all those promises, but they don't move. You know, they don't. As she says, they don't make much effort. I don't know what kind of efforts she's talking about, right? Perhaps he's not really with action showing her that he wants to take the relationship into another
It's like
level.
what he's saying doesn't match what he's doing.
Yeah.
And what matters in any relationship is what you do.
Yes.
Because saying is lovely, you know. When you say, and the feelings that it brings on you right here, none of those things
Actions
matter.
speak louder than words.
So it's what he's doing. What is he doing? Does he show that he really likes you? That those feelings that he has for you are genuine? No. It's probably because it's not true.
Yeah.
So I'd say don't continue and see where it goes. I think she should talk
Of course.
and make a decision.
Confront the situation.
Don't
the guy
carry
see
on.
where he goes. He goes from there, right? So keep those questions coming to questions@lovetalkshow.tv, and we'll be more than glad to answer your questions.
Hello YouTube, I am Rafa and this is Luke, and we are the presenters of the Love Talk Show.
And you can subscribe to this channel, like, share, and leave your comments below. Hello and welcome back to the Love Talk, and we are here in the studio with a special guest. But in case you just joined us right now, well, not only one guest, our guests, and in case you just joined us now, today's topic is trying again after a failed marriage, which we know how heartbreaking can be a failed relationship. Now imagine a marriage after being married for a few years, perhaps even having kids, and then seeing that relationship, seeing that marriage going down the drain. So it's not a very easy task for some people, for majority of people, to start again, especially after we reach a certain age, right?
I think it's because, you know, that's why many people, they don't think about marriage. Once they've gotten married, not everybody, but some people, they've gotten married, that didn't work. Immediately they say, you know, marriage is not for me, I don't believe in marriage, I'll just have someone, but I'm not going to get married again because the first time didn't work.
Yeah.
So it's a common feeling that many people have.
And that's why we have here our guests, Victor and Guilena Couto. How are you?
Hello.
Hello.
How you guys doing? All right?
Yes, thank you.
And they're going to tell us a little bit about their story. You've been married for how long now?
I was married formally.
Now.
6 years.
6 years.
Yes.
Okay. But the two of you have a similar story, right? Which is a failed relationship, a failed marriage in the past, right?
Yes, correct.
So who would like to speak first? You go first, the gentleman.
Yes.
Good.
Yes, I was married for 7 years, and there were kids involved as well. And it got to a stage that the in-laws, you know, they were interfering in the marriage. So much so that my ex decided to go back to the parents on holiday, and the day she was supposed to come back, I was meant to pick her up from the airport. Then I phoned to find out, you know, just to confirm the time that her plane would be landing. And to my shock, and she said, "No, I'm not coming back." And I said, "Are you kidding?" She said, "No, I'm not coming back." So, wow, that day, the way I felt, it's just like, you know, my world caved in.
I imagine.
So, and then...
And sorry to cut you, but before that, how much did they interfere? How much, how often, and how deep, how I don't know how bad it was to the point where it was really causing those problems? Because now you're talking about the time she decided not to come back anymore.
Yes, yes.
But prior to that, how often did that happen, and how bad it was?
Okay. What I noticed when we in the wedding to my ex, the mom wasn't smiling, and I noticed that. Her dad was dancing and very happy, you could tell. And then I asked her later on, I said, I noticed your mom wasn't happy. Is there anything wrong? Everything okay? And she said, well, it's because she's losing me, she said.
Which is acceptable, right?
Yes.
To a certain extent, in a way, of course.
Not to be serious in a wedding.
Yes, not to be.
No, I mean, losing the daughter, right? Okay,
yes,
so.
Yes. And then, so after the marriage, we, she was phoning minimum three times a week. And they would spend hours over the phone talking. And that went on for, I believe, for the first month. And then I said, no, this has to stop because, I'm married to you, I'm not married to your mom. And that stopped for a while. Obviously, she was calling, but not as frequent as she was. And then, anyway, to cut the long story short, and our child was taken ill and was rushed to hospital, and he was in the A&E. So I wasn't aware that my ex phoned the mom to, obviously, of course, she has the right to tell them what's happening. But to my surprise, the following day, somebody arrived, because the parents lived abroad. And I said, well, I wasn't aware that your parents were coming, your mom. And she said, well, that my mom decided to come. So, and then actually this is the beginning to the end of the marriage. Because during the boys' hospitalization, the family were saying that I was siding to the doctors instead of my wife. And then he was discharged. Our child was discharged, and the mom and the brother and I believe the sister came over. It was really crowded, and I had to put up for 2 months. And when they left, she said, "Oh, can I go to my parents and recover from the ordeal?" And I said, "Okay, no problem." And that's what was happened.
Wow.
And
she never came back.
No, and I tried. I called. I kept on traveling to see my child. It was really painful because having your first child. I never had child before, and I was looking forward, and then suddenly everything, went up the smokes. So I was traveling and visiting and traveling.
So when she refused to come, you decided to go?
To visit.
But with the expectation that she'd return with you some time? Yeah,
but at the time there was nothing, we didn't have any physical contact, as couples. I was just going to see the children. I wasn't staying in the same house, I was staying in a hotel. And after 9 months, she decided to come back. Okay, let's try again. So, okay, let's try again. And then the second child was born. However, before the second child was born, the whole episode that happened in the first time started reoccurring. The mother came again 2-3 months before she gave birth. So, and I wasn't comfortable, and I had families here and there because actually that was the time for couples to bond, expecting your child. And then after the birth of our second child, the same scenario. Oh, can I go? And I told a friend. I said, "Oh, yes, my ex is going."
I've seen this movie before.
Yeah, and they said, "What again?" I said, "Yeah, oh, she'll come back. She'll come back." And then same thing happened. She said, "Oh, I'm not coming back because you know, I'm more settled there, and I was told to come over here. She said, "Oh, can you come over here to settle over there, you know, abroad?" And I said, "No, I married you here. Here, I'm staying here." So, and then really, the whole thing fizzled out, and in the end, I did try. I held on for 5 years.
Wow.
And there was no physical contact. Yes.
Really?
Nothing. I held on for 5 years, and
You were a
because
hero.
it's one moment is like, oh yeah, it's going to we're going to be back on again because the kids, you know. And then I decided, no, I just had enough. That was the end, and I filed in the divorce papers.
Right. And you, Glenn? What about your story?
So my
In-laws
story.
involved?
Sorry.
In-laws involved in your story?
No.
No.
So my side of the story is we got married abroad because at that time we were living in France. So we got married abroad and in France, in Paris, and then we decided to come over for a better life and to learn the language as well because we speak only French, and that was the opportunity to speak a second language. So very happy, and you know, we both came over, and within 3 years we started having a lot of arguments because I used to hear from my friend that he's having an affair, he's having girlfriends, he's having mistress, whatever you call it, and I believe, deep down I believe, but then you come to me and say, no, they're lying, you know, and then you buy me flowers and you buy me present and you tell me this is all lies, it's not true. But deep down I can see something was not right. So we're arguing a lot, and I think then we had our child, our daughter, then she was born, and I think when she turned 8 months, this is when I found out actually he was having an affair. And it was like my whole world was like just collapsed, you know, because for me it was like the love of my life, and you know, we had plans, you know. For me it was, I couldn't understand why, and I left everything and came over. All my family, I had no family here, couldn't speak the language very well, so for me it was like, what's going on? It was like I was just going crazy. I just couldn't understand, so I was crying. And then he moved out, but we were, you know, he said, you know, we love each other, but we can't live together, so let's try living like that. But
living
then separately. And it was really hard because he wouldn't tell me where he lives. You know, he would come and see me, but he wouldn't tell me where he lives. I had no idea where he stays, and he would tell me, in my culture, we can have as many wives as we want, as many women as we want, but you have to stay there and wait for me. And so I felt like I was trapped, and it was so painful. I was crying all the time, I couldn't sleep. And that went on for about 8 to 10 years. I think after 5 years he came home, and then within a few months he left again. And yeah, so it was like that for about 8-10 years.
So you two are from the same country?
No, he's from
a different country.
Different country,
so,
yeah.
okay, in his culture,
Yeah.
you're saying that that's the mentality.
That's the mentality.
Usually that kind of culture only works for men, right?
Yes.
Not for the woman or the women in general, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't accept being just one more.
No, I didn't. I just couldn't. I tried and I just couldn't. I said to him, I can't live like that. So I keep telling him, come home, because this is not a life for me. This is not when we're married. We didn't get married to live like that. And so after 8-10 years, I just couldn't. It was just like a nightmare, a total nightmare. I felt like I was stuck. I couldn't move on with my life. I couldn't do anything because I was still married, and he would come and see me like maybe twice a month, you know, things like that. He would call, but he wouldn't say where he lives, and so it was like just a total nightmare. So in the meantime, my family would come and visit me. They would tell me, why are you waiting for him? We have to make a decision. And I just couldn't, because I was really scared, and I thought, you know, if I divorce him, who's going to want me? I'm going to be a single mom, and so it was really, really
the usual
difficult.
thoughts, right? The usual fears.
Yes.
And yet, that situation was only getting worse.
Only getting worse,
right?
Until I find out that there was a child involved when we went out to for dinner, And he opened his wallet, and I saw a picture of a little boy, and I said, "Who's this?" And he didn't want to tell me. And the boy looked exactly like him. And I said, "You have to tell me the truth, because you keep saying everybody's lying, but it's time for you to tell the truth." And then he said, "Okay, actually, this is true. It is my child, and I didn't want to have him, but it happened. And I think the woman tricked me," you know, the usual story.
Excuses.
Yeah, excuses. So that was more, it was like a knife,
Of course.
you know, in my heart. It was even more painful.
So, and that's when you had enough.
And this is when I had enough.
Decided to divorce him.
And I decided to divorce him.
So obviously the two of you came to this decision against your will, of course. However, it was a situation in which there was only much you could do, only so much you could do, right? Because as you said, going on for many years, 5, 7, 6 years, right? 8 to 10 years, so it's time enough to see if things can change and work, but it didn't, right? And I believe that after that, there was frustration and disappointments, right?
Yes.
Did you think of getting married again, or after those two failed marriages, the two of you, you said to yourselves, not anytime soon, never again? I don't know, what did you think? How did you feel?
Well, for me, I said never again.
Never
I
again.
said never again. And I felt so disappointed, and I felt like, who's gonna want me anyway? Now I'm a single mom.
How many children?
I had only one.
Only one.
One daughter. And it was like a big shame, even for the family as well. It was like a big shame. And I said, what's the point? What's the point? And I don't want to get hurt again.
Right.
So what's the point? So that was.
How about you, Victor?
Well, definitely, I didn't want to get involved in any relationship.
You probably thought, if I get married again, there'll be laws involved, right?
Yes, I did. And I remember somebody kept inviting me to come to the Love Talks seminar. And I said, no, nowhere. What's the point? Because I'm not going to get married again. I'm happy, you know, as I am. So it was a decision I took then. Yes, not to...
So you've been married for 6 years, right?
Yes.
Right. So, but people can see that idea, that first idea about never getting married again, went down the drain, because here you are 6 years together, right?
Yes.
So then after the break, we're going to come back with Victor and Guylaine and find out what changed, you know, what made them change their views in regard to marriage. Stay with us. Hi YouTube. Did you know that we hold a seminar called Love Talk Live every Thursday, 8 p.m.? That's right, at the address below that you can see, and it's completely free.
And there we talk about similar topics of the ones we talk about here on Love Talk Show. You can get in touch with us by emailing us questions@lovetalkshow.tv or through our Facebook page, Love Talk Show.
That's right.
We'll see you there.
Welcome back to the Love Talk, and today we are talking about, you know, people who somehow they thought that one day it was the end of the road for them when it comes to relationships, to marriage. And that's why today's topic is trying again after a failed marriage. You know, what do I do? How can I go about it? How can I make it work again? Can I be happy again? Can I find happiness in marriage again? You know, we are here with Victor and Guylaine. Guylaine, pardon me. And they were telling us a little bit about their story. Both of them come from failed marriages. She was married for 10 years. He was married for 7 years, and it didn't work.
And they had to put up with a lot throughout those years. A lot. Victor had his in-laws get involved to the point where he had to divorce. She suffered with betrayal, right? So we're back here with Victor and Guylaine. That's right, not Guylaine, Guylaine. So you're telling us before the break that
you came to the point where you said, enough, no more relationships. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yes,
yes, I did say that. As I did mention as well, somebody advised me to come to the seminar. And then I said no, because there was no point. You know, I wasn't interested in getting into another relationship. Eventually, after 6 months or so, I said, okay, I'll just come to the seminar. And then I realized that I couldn't move on because of hatred, you know. I wanted a revenge at the time, especially, I'm sorry to say, to the mother-in-law, because I thought she was the one pulling the strings. But anyway, but I had to let go, I had to forgive, you know. I learned how to use the power of faith, you know, that everything is possible, you know, that I can still, you know, find a good relationship, you know, better than the previous. So
but that feeling perhaps was something that would hinder you from having a proper relationship in the future. Because imagine going to a new relationship,
exactly,
feeling that hatred, that with those resentments inside.
Yes, right? I did, and especially, you know, having gone through, it's just like, you know, having a home, having children, and suddenly everything, you know, went under. So I didn't want to go through that. That's what actually one of the main reasons why I didn't want to get into a relationship.
So 6 years together, right?
Yes.
So would you mind telling us your age right now?
Yes.
You mind? Or you don't mind?
I don't mind. I don't mind. I'm 50.
Because we want people, you're 50 and
Yes.
you are?
And I'm 47.
47. So if you were married for 6 years, so in your 40s, you met each other.
Yes.
And it changed, that mentality changed, right?
Yes.
So which means that it doesn't matter your age, what you went through, yes, there's a way to make it work.
Yes.
And you gave it a try, right?
Yes.
So why did you change your mind? What made you change your mind then towards marriage?
For me as well, it's funny because we had the same, even though our story is different, but it's the pain we went through kind of left this damage inside of us. And same thing, one of my friends invited me to the love seminar, and because she was concerned because I was so bitter. I had this revenge, and I even tried to do something. I don't know if we have time to talk about it, but you know, so much so that I wanted to plan to do something to my ex because I couldn't understand why someone would do something like that.
You want to hurt him.
I really want to hurt him, but I didn't. But I managed to destroy all his, you know, inside his house, and I follow him and hire private detective. It's like a movie, and went into his home.
You went that far?
I went that far and destroyed everything. The police had to get involved. So you can see the bitterness I had inside of me. And my friend was so concerned. And this is when she invited me to go there. And by going, you know, into that seminar, and I learned to let go, because I couldn't let go. Because even though if I didn't want to get married again, even for myself, I couldn't do anything because all I had was the bitterness.
What is interesting about this story, because you know, as you mentioned right now, you are not well within yourself, because what the scars that those two relationships left in the both of you, you know, left marks, scars, and wounds.
Yes.
So before going to a new relationship, you learned that you had first be well within yourself.
Yes.
Which is what we try to pass on to people when they come to talk to us about it. It's not enough just to say, I mean, it doesn't work saying, I don't want a new relationship. Forget it, I'm not gonna get married ever again. Okay, you may not get married again, but you're gonna eventually have a relationship.
Yes.
Whether you're gonna get married or not, it doesn't matter. So when you get into that relationship, and you take with you those feelings, such as hatred and, you know, the feeling of revenge, what can happen? It's not going to work.
That's what intelligent love promotes. You see that they did what makes sense. Maybe what it felt good to do is hate forever, take revenge, and it's like they were divorced, but they were still prisoners of everything that happened in the marriage. So intelligent love makes you see sense. It doesn't make sense for me to live as if I was still a prisoner of that marriage. So the best thing for me to do is move on, forgive.
And we believe that that's what you learned and you applied, right?
Yes, yes.
You used more your reasons than your feelings.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And then, so how did you meet?
So
were you introduced? Did you see each other? Did you see?
Yeah, I saw her, but I didn't rush into
When you saw her, did she see you?
No, I saw her and I was keeping a tab on her, but she didn't know. Because I had to make sure. So eventually, after 8 months, I plucked up courage to go and speak to her. Yes.
And how was it when he approached you? Had you already changed your mind, or you still a bit skeptical about?
I changed my mind because I've learned, and I believe that all the grudges, everything I had inside of it was kind of blocking the real meaning of love, of marriage. And so when I was fine and I had peace again, and so when he approached me, so much so I didn't even, I wanted to get married again at that time then. But when he approached me, I thought it was just like, normal conversation. And then when I found out he was watching me for 8 months and I never knew, and I was like, wow, I was really impressed. I was impressed. But I didn't want to give in straight away. When he said to me, let's go for a coffee, I tried to make it hard for him.
Yes.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Yes.
She made it harder.
Yes, I remembered quickly. When we came to the seminar, and then after the seminar, and I approached her and we were talking, and she said, "Oh, I have to dash off now because my daughter is alone, and I need to go and be with her." So and then that was a way of avoiding me. She didn't want. Well, she told me later. I didn't know. But I persevered.
And then when you guys came together, and then you found out that there was common interest, did you talk about your previous relationships and try to lay some ground, some foundation in order to avoid certain things from repeating themselves? Or did you have a different approach this time? What changed this time in regard to that?
We spoke about our past, and but as we get to know each other, we can see that it's clicking. We're kind of we can relate to each other, and we just took it as we go along, and because we dated for a year, so we could see we ticked all the boxes.
Good.
Yes, before we got engaged.
Good.
So yes.
And also, I think one thing that is very important, which we didn't get to ask, but I'm sure they did it differently this time, is during the dating period. Because some things you do see as you're dating. You see, you notice, but because of, you're in love, you just brush that off. So how was the dating? What did you make sure during the dating that, it was clear?
So for me,
you have to tell the yogurt one.
The yogurt. Yeah. What happened?
Apparently, we were having a dinner. It's a lunch. I can't remember. And then there was a dessert. It was yogurt, wasn't it? It was a yogurt. Yes.
Okay.
And then after, it was so delicious, and I licked the. I licked the cover. I licked the cover of the yogurt. I don't care. This is who I am. That actually, she told me that actually impressed her. I wasn't trying to.
Impressed in a good or bad way?
In a bad way, because I am who I am. It's like surprise.
This is who you're married. Telling her, I lick the lid, right? Because you said that on the wedding day of your previous marriage, you noticed that your mother-in-law wasn't very happy.
No.
Did you notice that even before the wedding? Did you notice when you guys were dating or things like that?
There was closeness.
Were there signs?
Yeah, I saw, because there was that kind of closeness, you know.
And were there signs in regard to him?
The sign...
Or he played a very good role there and deceived you somehow?
No, the sign was the age, because there's a big age gap between us, because he was 10 years older than me, even though he didn't look his age, but 10 years, you know, gap between us.
Because you were 20-something, you were 21?
I was 21 and he was 31, 22. So, so when we applied to get married, and back then in France, there's that law that they check your age as well. They do a lot of tests and they do look at the age gap, and they say no. They say you can't get married because he's too old for you. And I keep saying, yeah, I love him, I want to get married. And they say, no, this is not going to work. And I said, no, I want to marry him. And they said, well, if you want to marry him, then you have to appeal, because we're not going to give our approval. So I went ahead and I appealed, and then I won the case and we got married. But then that was already a sign, you know, because even when we're talking, I can see that there was the gap, you know. It was like he was trying to be a father to me. Sometimes I felt like he was not my husband; it was more like a father, and he was controlling me, because there's a lot of emotional abuse there as well. So I could see that, but I said, you know what, I love him. So yeah. So
you ignored few signs there,
yes.
But this time you had a whole year to get to know each other. You've seen him licking the cover many times, so you know now that this is the guy, right? This is the guy. Great. Well, it was very nice having you guys here.
Thank you.
Okay, your story will encourage many others who think that perhaps, you know, this is it, this is the end. I'm too heartbroken, and, you know, as you said, I feel ashamed or embarrassed to be now a single mother. Or even lost hope. And this is to prove that, yes, there is still hope once you deal first with your personal issues, and then you can be ready for the next chapter, right? Thanks very much, Victor and Guylaine.
Yes.
That's right, thanks very much. All right. So we are going to go into the break right now, but before that, we'll have the 3 most annoying things. I believe that might be one of the most annoying things from Guylaine is Victor licking the cover of the yogurt. Stay with us.
When I'm telling a story, actually this happened last night. We were at the dinner table, and I was telling her this story. It's a movie story, and I was telling her, and she prepared the dinner. And because I like to be listened to when I'm talking, and she knows. And then I was explaining the movie to her. And then suddenly she looked at the food. She said, "Oh, the way you're eating it, are you okay? You're not. Do you like the food?" You know, out of the blue. And I said to her, "But I never complained that I didn't like the food."
When he's telling a story, it will start from the beginning. And the beginning will be like in 1970s, this happened, and you know, and by the time I'm still listening, and my mind is already somewhere else, because you take his time to, you know, this happened, he has to tell the name of the street, the color of the car.
I would call it organized mess, to be left as it is, because I know where everything is, and then I dread when she cleans, because she put away everything that I have left in the place. We're
sitting at the table, we're eating, and he will start his dinner, and he will not look at me. He will just be eating like there's no one else around him. It's just his plate, and that's it. And I keep saying, "Hello, I'm here."
Because she woke up before I wake up as well. And once she wakes up, that's it for me. That's the end of my sleep. There is the makeup bags here going, you know, there's wrangling here, there is her hair, there is that and that and that. That's very annoying, but I had to live with it.
And number 3 is when he's having his tea, and he's making noises. He drinks his tea and he's making this little... It is really annoying. I keep telling him, just keep quiet when you're drinking your tea. Just, don't need to make that noise. Which is quite annoying.
Hi YouTube! Hope you're enjoying watching our show right now.
And just so you know, you also can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter on the details below on your screen.
Make sure you follow us on there too to stay up to date.
Welcome back to the Love Talk, and today's topic is trying again after a failed marriage. And in the previous segment, we had Victor and Guylaine Acuto, who shared with us their story, which was that both of them had a previous relationship, they were married before, and their marriage came to an end. She was married for 10 years, he was married for 7 years. She decided to divorce her previous husband due to an affair or unfaithfulness, some affairs he had with other women, and he had to make that decision because the in-laws were interfering too much. So, but then they proved, and they have proved that it's possible to find happiness again when it comes to marriage.
It's that thing that many people, and it's understandable in a way, that after you have had your heart broken, because marriage, I believe people go into marriage, or they should go into marriages, thinking this is forever, this is the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And to see that failing, to see that all your dreams, all your plans, sometimes you had children, which was their case, so the father of your child, the mother of your child, just leaves. It is very hard. It can be very hard for someone to just think, it didn't work this time, but I'm going to try again and just be okay with it.
And there are two important points that I would like to highlight in this story. Number one, never ignoring the signs, because both of them could see signs right in the beginning of the relationship, perhaps the time they were dating, prior to the wedding, prior to officializing that relationship, and they ignore those signs. So never ignoring the signs. It's a bit hard in the beginning. We understand that, a person may think like this, but he'll change, she'll change, or maybe,
marriage will change.
Marriage will change, and with time, things you'll be okay, and so on and so forth. We've seen this countless times. It doesn't work. It's not like that. And the second point is that before their relationship now, they had to work on themselves. They had to, overcome those issues of the past, the hatred, the resentment, the feeling of revenge, of taking revenge on the previous partner, or in his case, his mother-in-law. So they could move into this new relationship right now, because going into a new relationship with those feelings, you only, cause more heartbreak, because you're going to a new relationship with a person with a new set of problems, and you're bringing your set of problems plus the problems of the past, of a previous relationship, which can cause a lot of damage.
One thing that Guylaine said that really called my attention, she said that she realized, by coming to the seminars, she realized that she had to move on. She had to overcome that bad experience, not only because of a potential relationship in the future, but to do anything else in her life, because she was like a prisoner to what happened to her. So it's not only about, I need to overcome this so I'm ready for a relationship. That too.
And also the feeling of not being good enough. She said, I feel so ashamed of being a single mother. This relationship didn't work. I feel ashamed before my family. And, having those feelings and fears inside of you may really, really cause more problems in the future. So, two things. Pay attention to the signs. The signs are there, whether that person, it's not only about being the one or not being the one. It's about being the right person to be with, right? Second, the most important thing is, also a very important thing, is dealing with those issues, those problems, whether from the past, previous relationships, or personal issues, personal problems. They dated for a year, right?
That's what they said.
They spent a year getting to know each other. She got to know him very well, to the point where she had to come to terms with him licking
The yogurt licking.
the yogurt licking the cover of the yogurt. So, as he said, this is who I am. I'm not gonna hide, I'm not gonna pretend. Sometimes people say, oh, this is so disgusting, so annoying, but that's who the person is. The person not pretending to be somebody else, you know, and then end up deceiving the other person, okay? So these are two important lessons that we've learned today. If you'd like to send us your questions, you can send questions once again to questions@lovetalkshow.tv. You can also follow us on YouTube. We have our channel, Love Talk, and also on Instagram and Facebook.
And we have a brand new website. We have
That's
just
right.
launched 2 weeks ago, which is lovetalkshow.tv.
And also on the website, you can find the link to, in case you've missed any of the segments today, you can go to our website and watch today's program, okay? Until next time, see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello to our YouTube viewers. One thing that we could highlight also in today's story, Victor's and Guylain's story, is the fact that they attended our seminars on Thursdays at 8 p.m. here in Finsbury Park, and they learned the importance of working in themselves before moving into a new relationship. Both of them were, back in the days, were against a new relationship, were opposing the idea of marriage, to the point where they were invited a few times by friends to attend the seminar, and they said, no, like Victor said, it doesn't interest me, right? But eventually they accepted the invitation, they started coming, and then, they saw that, yes, I can be happy again, I can go into a new relationship. However, now they learned intelligent love. Yes. Now they approach the subject again, not in an emotional way, but in an intelligent way.
And that's very important, because many people, they have had such a terrible experience with a failed marriage. It was so bad that they really don't want anymore, because they don't want to go through that again. Sometimes people even would like to, but they can't because of, grudges, because of hurt. They're hurt. And that's the kind of help Victor and Guylain got through the seminars. The power to let that go, to let go of that horrible experience, and hope for the future, hope that it could be different in the future.
You see that the idea of the seminar is not to, match people. We're not matchmakers. In the seminars, we encourage people first to, to do certain things, to certain issues, overcome certain obstacles about themselves. Some people think, I don't want to be in a relationship right now. We're not saying here that you have to come because we want you, or somehow we force you through the seminars to be in a relationship. Not at all. We want you to have a good relationship with yourself. That's the most important thing. If you're well with yourself, you for sure find the right person and be well with that other person. You'll be happy with that other person, okay? So our seminars are ongoing every Thursday, 8 p.m. here in Finsbury Park, 232 Seven Sisters Road. The postcode is N43NX. And right now we're doing the 7 steps to rebuild yourself. 7 steps to rebuild yourself. You can join us this coming Thursday, okay? See you then.
And that's all for today's Love Talk show. Be sure to tune in next week to learn more on how to love intelligently.